Before Gilgamesh, before Hammurabi carved laws in stone, there was another king. One barely remembered, yet divine in origin, swift as the desert wind, and chosen by fate itself. This is the story of Lugalbanda, warrior, servant of the gods, and the silent thread that stitched greatness into Uruk's legacy. The great king Enmerkar of Uruk sought to dominate the distant mountain kingdom of Aratta, a city rich in jewels, metals, and sacred stones. But the gods had not granted him easy passage. In the dry season, when the rivers wept dust and the gods were quiet, Enmerkar summoned his elite warriors. Among them marched Lugalbanda, young, faithful, yet unknown. The journey would span weeks across blazing deserts and treacherous hills. The army's strength was its order, but their burden was heavy, and soon Lugalbanda fell ill. They could not carry the dying. With sorrow, his comrades left him behind, alone beneath the burning sky, with only food, water, and the hope that the gods might hear. Lugalbanda lay between life and death, the desert whispering ancient secrets in his ears. But the gods had not forgotten him. In a vision, he beheld a mountain, Hursag, the spine of the earth. Drawn by its divine pull, he staggered toward it, wounded but guided. At the mountain's foot, Lugalbanda found a secret cave, a womb of stone. Cool and dark, it cradled him like a child of the gods. Here he lit a sacred fire. Here he whispered to the heavens. And then the wind shifted. Wings thundered across the sky. The cave shook. From the storm descended the mighty Anzud bird, lion-headed, eagle-bodied, a creature of divine terror. Lugalbanda did not flee. He bowed low, and with trembling hands he offered bread, dates, and prayer. Moved by humility, Anzud spoke, not in words, but in thunder and wind. Anzud, guardian of the mountain and servant of Enlil, knew Lugalbanda's name. It had echoed in the heavens. He healed the warrior's wounds with divine fire. He anointed his feet with the winds of the sky. When Lugalbanda opened his eyes, the world was changed. He no longer walked, he soared. The strength of the eagle pulsed through his blood. Lugalbanda rose from the mountain renewed. The desert no longer drained him. He glided over it, as if the wind carried his feet. The war had not stopped. King Enmerkar's army pressed onward toward the walls of Aratta, a city defended not just by men, but by pride, magic, and forgotten gods. And yet, the king needed a message delivered. The army could not delay. No man could make the journey alone. But Lugalbanda was no longer just a man. He volunteered. He ran. Through sun-baked valleys, over shadowed ridges, across lands ruled by the wild and the divine. His legs knew no fatigue, his breath a whisper. Time bent for him. At Aratta's gates, messengers were met with suspicion or death. But Lugalbanda spoke not as a soldier, but as a divine wind. The king of Aratta, cloaked in sapphire and pride, listened. None knew how he arrived so swiftly. None could deny his message. He was now more than a messenger. He was the omen, the one who walks between gods and kings. Though his feet moved like wind and his words carried weight, Lugalbanda was not yet free from fate's forge. The gods, though generous, are never without demand, and in the space between kingdoms, he would face his truest test. A voice called from the stones. The wind shifted direction. From the shadows emerged a being not seen by mortal eyes since the world was young. The mountain spirit, sent by the high god Enlil. The spirit demanded truth. Are you loyal to your king, or to the gods who now walk beside you? Lugalbanda answered with humility, I serve Uruk, but I walk where the gods lead me. Impressed but not yet satisfied, the spirit gave Lugalbanda a vision, a dream of flame and flood, where cities rose and fell, kings became dust, and only names carved in stone endured. And at the end of it, he saw himself crowned in silence. Lugalbanda woke with new sight, not just of the world around him, but of the path ahead. He would return to Uruk, not as a warrior or messenger, but as a bridge between gods and men. The winds of the gods were at his back. The breath of Enlil lifted his steps, and so Lugalbanda returned, not crawling from the shadows of illness, but flying from the dawn. The war had grown grim. The siege of Arata stretched on. Supplies dwindled. Spirits frayed. Then, like a divine whisper, Lugalbanda appeared among them. The army rejoiced, but more than hope, Lugalbanda brought insight, visions born not from dreams, but from the gods themselves. He advised caution, diplomacy, a path that avoided the total destruction of Arata and still secured Uruk's legacy. And Merkur, proud yet wise, heeded the counsel. Arata, shaken by Lugalbanda's divine visit and dreams of fire, agreed to terms. And thus, the war was ended not by sword, but by voice. When they returned to Uruk, crowds filled the streets, and Merkur was lauded, but it was Lugalbanda's name that was whispered in awe. The sick man who raced the wind, the soldier who spoke with gods, the man who would, one day, wear the crown. Time moved forward, but Lugalbanda's tale had already become timeless. In the hearts of Uruk's people, he was no longer just a man. He was something more. He had passed through the veil of illness, walked the halls of divine trial, and returned bearing the fire of gods. Enmerkar, aged and worn by war, saw in him not only a trusted warrior, but a destined heir. The people whispered his name beside incense flames and in prayers before harvests. They did not speak of his sword, they spoke of his spirit. And so, when the king passed into the realm of the gods, the crown was laid upon Lugalbanda's brow, not because of lineage, not because of conquest, but because he had died and returned, transformed, tested, and chosen. Under his rule, Uruk would flourish. His son, Gilgamesh, would rise to legend, but it was Lugalbanda, the father, the wanderer, the storm-footed one, who set the path. His name, now etched in brick and star, would echo through eternity. Remember him not as a king of gold, but as a man who found the gods in fire, wind, and silence, and walked back to tell the tale. Lugalbanda did not rise by sword or sorcery, but by endurance, by faith, and by the favor of the gods who saw light in his suffering. He was left to die and returned a legend. What legends will rise from your silence? The stories of the past are not just echoes. They are blueprints for what we can become. If this story moved you, share it. Subscribe to Lore Eternal for more tales from the world's oldest myths. And remember, not all heroes wear crowns, some wear dust.